Alright, so you're looking to beat the gold stake. It could be on any deck. We're going to be talking specifically about the checkered deck here. So the tips I'm going to give are going to be applicable to really any deck, just with a few special points for the checkered deck here at the end. Of course, it's going to be useful for all the previous stakes as well. But let's just take a quick look at what the actual difficulty brings. So -1 hand size, which is a big issue, decreasing how often you can hit flushes, really just making this deck less consistent. Booster packs costing more. Of course, just everything is higher, all the blinds. You lose a discard. Eternal jokers, right? They stick forever. You can't sell them. Can't be destroyed. Another stake where everything's just going to be higher. And the small blind not giving money. So if we go and we take a look at the run that I ended up completing it with, this is going to be the end set that you can see. Now, my first tip would be just be greedy early on, okay? In your first and second ante, just be looking for things that are going to help, snowball a little bit early. So we see here we've got like the wee joker, right? That is something that can stack. That's a great thing to be greedy with early on. It could be interest, that could be fine. There could be jokers that are giving extra money. Maybe they're temporary, you end up selling them later. Or maybe you're just gonna, do a very risky discard to be able to hit exactly what you need. But do it in those early antes, just because, well, the run ends early. The worst thing you could do is make it to the mid and late antes and not be able to keep going because your build isn't good enough. So just kind of jump back to here, let it play while we talk about the rest. So yeah, like I said, things that stack, things that snowball. That's the second point, right? You're being greedy early on in those first two antes, but the second thing you're looking for, stacking and snowballing. You'll see here as well, I've got supernova. So supernova, it's going to get +1 multiplier added every time I end up playing a hand, and that hand is preferably going to be a flush. If I'm running the checkered deck, it is preferably a flush. Now, being able to build those two things early on is going to be great. That could be the greed that you end up going for. But if you don't hit it there, yeah, just be looking for money, things like that. Third tip would be buy tarot cards. Tarot cards more than planetary cards. I think they're just more consistent. The tarot cards have a lot more that are beneficial. But you got to keep in mind the prices of them are going to increase every single round. So buy those tarot cards early. That could be where your snowballing comes in. That could be where your greed comes in, right? Skip a blind to get 2 tarot cards. Great. Be greedy. See if you can get to that next round. Buy them while they're still cheap. Take advantage of them while they're still cheap. They're fine to get later in the run as well. Don't be scared to get them later. But yeah, I think tarot cards for sure are much more valuable in general, but especially for this deck, than any of the standard packs or than any of the planetary cards. Now, the fourth thing, this really comes down specifically to the checkered deck. What you want to do with this deck is try to play a flush every single hand. You'll see here, I've got an extra hand because of a voucher at this point. You're going to be at 4 to start. If you're lucky enough to get to 5, you want to hit a flush on all 4 of those hands or all 5 of those hands. So what you want to do is build in consistency towards that. And because you're -1 discard due to the difficulty and -1 card in hand due to the difficulty, it's really, really hard to actually get a 5-card hand, specifically a flush that you're normally going to be going for. Of course, sometimes jokers could push you in another direction. It's going to be very difficult to do. So the first thing I'd recommend is building towards 1 suit. You've got 26 hearts, 26 spades. Take cards that are going to either convert the hearts to spades or the spades to hearts. You could destroy one of those suits. You could use death to make copies. And it's fine if you don't have the build defined. If there's no jokers that are benefiting your spades or benefiting your hearts, this is one of those things you can be greedy with early. Just build towards one of those suits. If you happen to get a joker that's going to also work with that suit, great. This is the run. Go forward with it. If you don't, maybe you get something that was targeting hearts, but you were building towards spades. Oh well, it wasn't meant to be. You learn that nice and early. It's okay. But if you sit and you wait, it might end up being too late. The next thing would be related to those tarot cards. I think you want to go for tarot cards that are going to improve your consistency as well. So stuff that's going to enhance 2 cards, right? Plus 30 chips, plus 4 multiplier. Drop those on 2. Or maybe you're using a death on an already enhanced card. That's another very valuable thing you can end up doing. Steel and glass cards, I found, tend to be less consistent because you've got fewer cards in hand. So a lot of times you can't hang on to, say, a steel card. Choose not to discard it and hope that you're going to be able to play still a 5-card hand of a certain suit, right? It's just very difficult to do. Same thing with glass. A lot of times you don't want to play those glass cards early. You want to save them for something like the very large blind. Later on, it's a big issue, right? You end up needing just one really, really nice turn. But the thing with this level of difficulty is you're going to need to win a lot of very difficult blinds. No matter what, all throughout, you got to win a lot of very difficult ones. And so you need that consistency in being able to hit flushes. Steel and glass, they're still okay. If they're offered, nothing else is. They're totally fine to take. I actually think you want to drop the steel cards on your preferred suit. So if you've got, 30 spades and 20 hearts, I actually think you want the steel on your spades. That way you're not throwing them away. But worst case, if you don't end up with 6 spades, you can still play the steel card in the flush and be okay. Same thing with glass, right? You hang on to it. If you have to play it, it can help you in a pinch. But then there's always that chance that it breaks and it doesn't help you out later. Whereas, if you're getting the plus 30 chips, the plus 4 multiplier, all those things, that's just going to help you consistently all throughout the run. I think those are the 4 tips, right? Be greedy, get things that stack or help you snowball, buy tarot cards specifically targeting those double enhancements, and be building for consistent flushes with the checkered deck. Those are really going to help you out, but really, really keep in mind it's going to be extremely difficult to actually win on your first run or anything like that. I wouldn't expect to if it's just your first time. So be ready to just lose a handful of times. Sometimes the RNG is not going to be in your favor. That's okay. It's going to take a while for most people, I think, but keeping this in mind, it should just reduce the number of attempts you're going to have to make, the number of times where everything's going to have to come together and get lucky with nice jokers and things like that going forward. So if you want to see the actual run itself, it'll be highlighted on Twitch. Should be very clear which one it is. You could also check out the entire VOD, watch me fail a whole bunch. Sometimes that will help with the learning process. Otherwise, it's going to make its way to YouTube in a handful of days. I'm going to be showing all the levels of difficulty with the checkered deck, kind of incrementally here each day. So if you want to be patient, you can see it there. If you want to be impatient, jump over to Twitch, check out that highlight, check out the VOD. You can see how the whole run goes. So best of luck. Hope that's enough to help you beat the gold stake in Balatro.